blazing the bar, breaking ground.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I am your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. As we get settled into our new weekly hour as about 10 o'clock Central Time, which should be about 11 o'clock Eastern Time, about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock Pacific Time. We're working on making our consistent footing at this particular time slot. So we appreciate you guys' patience as we transition from our 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific time slot to the new time slot that we have right now. You should start seeing more updates on our pre-scheduled shows. So just keep a lookout for that. For those of you that are watching us on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, we really appreciate you guys coming. Special shout outs to Red Void, Omni81, Reese, Max Opposer. You know, you guys always set the par for us, so we really appreciate you guys coming to the show. Today's topic is going to be very interesting, y'all. So we talked about yesterday about how men cheat. Today we're going to be talking about the independent woman scaring away their men. So this is going to be a very interesting topic. I'm fascinated to see some of the responses. We got a couple of responses coming in as we speak, where one says modern men, let's see, men want peace and are not getting it with modern women. All right, so we're diving in. So we're going to go ahead and see that he going in. Okay. First day before we even get started. All right. Keep those comments rolling. We're gonna keep making it do what it do. But as we start rolling, make sure that you guys know that if you want to be on the show, you can click the link in the comment section, approve the mic, approve the camera, and then we'll bring you onto the show in real time. As long as you're over the age of 18, you'll be up onto the show. So I have to confirm that you are over the age of 18 before I put you up there. You can turn your camera off after that, but kind of got to see what's going on with that. Beyond that, anybody can say what they want to say in the comment section, both in the live, on the live video, and in the comment section. We ask that you stay appropriate, show some respect for the forum. We are open mic, open minded forum, so you can not agree with me and still be up here. It makes sense to not have the same opinion that I do on a lot of topics, but it also makes sense that since I'm making it make sense, that a lot more people are going to be agreeing with the way I deliver the message. Well, hold on. Let me rephrase that. A lot of people are going to agree with the message that's being delivered, but not a lot of people are going to agree with the way the message is being delivered, because one of the things that I have experienced in my past with this podcast is that no matter how right I am, there are situations where some women just don't like the delivery. So if I don't put the right bow on it, if I don't put the right wrapping paper on it, the message is not nice. She doesn't like it. So while we understand that, we're going to be marching right on into this show. Today, we're going to be diving into this specific question: are independent women really scaring men away? I can answer that question in the short run, but I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what? Let's take 10 blocks to get across the street. Today, we're tackling that topic, and it's been on many people's minds. And it's something that's been debated in conversations, online forums, and even in massive areas of social media. The question is, are the women really scaring the men off because of their independence, or is it really something wrong with the men? Do men find strong, independent women intimidating, or is it just a myth? There is a common belief amongst feminist women that independent women can be intimidating to men. The idea is that they believe that men may feel emasculated or threatened if a woman is too successful, too confident, or too self-sufficient. And they also feel that it could relate in another sense to the fear of being outdone or overshadowed by their partner. Perhaps there's also an understanding from women that it's the perception that independent women don't need men as much. And that's daunting thoughts for some guys. Some people think that men are just not used to dealing with women who are confident and independent. They're not sure how to handle a woman who doesn't need them to feel complete. This mindset can lead to relationships where men feel like they need to care for their partners and to rescue them or to be their heroes. And when they encounter an independent woman who doesn't need any of that, it can be intimidating. Now, that's a lot of good thoughts, but I can definitely tell you that since men, from a man's perspective, men want a partner. Men look for companionship and they want a partner, someone that is going to aid them in their success. Men typically, the good men typically take the desires, drives, and aspirations of all of the parties in the group and try to make them all successful unilaterally, which means that if you're career driven and he's career driven, he will support your career and try to support his own career. But very few times do we have relationships where women are actually supporting their man's career. When a woman wants to make a decision, the woman wants the support from her boyfriend or her husband. If a woman wants to build herself up, she wants the support from her boyfriend or her husband. But that is a one-sided mindset because those same women are not thinking, I should support my man's decisions. I should back my man's ambitions. I should bring more to the table to help my man succeed. And because we get from those independent women that they don't need a man and they're not trying to raise one. So since they're not his mother, they're not trying to be as supportive for him as they expect him to be supportive for her. And those type of women make a bad image for the self-sufficient woman, which is a woman that can do it for herself by herself. But when she elects a man to represent her situation, she allows that man to do things that he is capable of doing. And then when he's not capable of doing things, she does it on her own. There is a big difference between a woman that can do it on her own and just allows you to do it and say nothing versus a woman that will try to stop you from doing it for her and then throw it in your face that she can do it by herself and she doesn't need you as a man. The what women do not understand is that it is a very demasculating statement where men are raised from childhood to be protectors and providers. It is a very demasculating statement to declare that the man has no value and no worth in your relationship. And that's not something that the independent women are recognizing. I've said this on the podcast plenty of times, is that an independent person, man or woman, will sacrifice the individuals in the team for their own individual success. They will sacrifice the team for individuality. A self sufficient individual will hold the fort down until backup arrives. A self sufficient individual will be able to maintain until reinforcements come. So if I'm at work and the situation ain't going right at the house, a self sufficient person will take care of things at the house. An independent person, if you were up for a promotion and that caused you to spend 1 month at the house out of the year, you would take that promotion and sacrifice your relationship. As soon as you think about that, you're like, oh, well, can a woman chase her career? She can. But the same way a career driven woman is not going to be able to dedicate herself to her relationship is the same way that a career driven man that does not have a supportive woman can maintain a relationship from a woman that is equally career driven. If you're living two separate lives, I mean, that's not how you work together as a team. You can have a full-time job where you both go to work on the same time of day and you both come back home from work on the same time of day and have different careers. But you also have those lives where you have one person that works while the sun is up and one person that works while the sun is down, and they never cross paths. That relationship doesn't last too long, because while you're at work, I'm asleep, and while I'm at work, you're asleep. We never see each other. We live in the same house. That makes us roommates. The relationship itself needs the time and the balance of both partners to be involved. And the overly tyrannical, we just got that comment in from one of the fans. The overly tyrannical behavior that we experience definitely puts men off. So, on the other hand, in contrast to the statements that were made earlier, uh, some men might see independent women as a threat to their own ego or masculinity, especially when we're dealing with that uh, verbal abuse, the controlling behavior, where a woman wants to be in charge or lead the man in order to feel like she's equal. A woman is capable of putting her opinions on the table, and a uh, cohesive situation where both parties are working together for a common goal, a democracy can occur. But the fact is that in order for a man to take a step forward, if he has to be snatched by the neck by his woman first, that's not going to work. Not when you're selecting an individual that is supposed to be uh, in some way, shape, or form better than you are, because women do not select men that are equal to them. Women do not select men that are less successful than she is. Um, the fact is that it's more often than not a common occurrence that women look for a man that does more and has more and is more capable of than what she is. So if this is going to be a 2-to-1 relationship, where 66% of the relationship is going to be his contribution and 33% of the relationship is going to be her contribution, the dynamic is that more has to come from the husband or the boyfriend. And we're still living in a semi-traditionalist environment where the expectations for the man to do more to cater to financially the woman, where the woman still wants the equal authority or dominant authority without putting in equal contributions into the relationship, or even being just emotionally and physically supportive to the man, aside from financial support, just emotionally and physically supportive. We're looking at the dynamic is just so off-putting. So they might there's going to be some belief that the men might feel like they need to prove themselves to their partners to show them who's in charge, but that's not true. Men want peace. Men do not want to argue with their girlfriends or their wives. Men do not want to be talked down to or belittled by their girlfriend or their wives when a man makes a decision she doesn't agree with. They also do not want to be talked down to or belittled by their wives when a man can't succeed. When a woman doesn't succeed, it's fine. Oh, it's okay. We'll make it work. When a man doesn't succeed, she's talking down to him. He's worthless. He's useless. There's a lot of verbal abuse involved in that. And when these things happen, these are the kinds of things that happen in those relationships that don't last more than 2 years. Because not all women are like this. There are a lot of women out there that will be very supportive. I use Michelle Obama as an example all the time, that backs the man to success, that he had a goal, and her goal was social justice. His goal was president of the United States. She was a career driven woman that was still supportive of her man's career. That's a perfect example of the kind of behavior that we don't see every day. We had Hillary Clinton that was supportive to her man and his infidelity. She was supportive of her man, even when things were tough in the marriage. When she ran for president, he was supporting her. There isn't a reason why there can't be a cohesive dynamic in the relationships. It's just something that's not readily seen. So this can lead to power struggles in the relationship. The only reason why there is a power struggle in the relationship is because both parties are trying to lead at the exact same time. In a relationship where people are egalitarian style, you guys can take turns. Like, for example, a man doesn't know everything about everything in life, and neither does a woman. And when a woman is selecting a man that knows more than what she does, she knows a lot of stuff, but he still is going to know something that she does not know, which also means that she should be able to seek counsel from him. That way he can make the proper recommendations. She can co-sign on it, and then they can move in that direction. But the fact is that when you're dealing with an individual that is solely wanting to be in charge, where the final say comes from just her, where he doesn't have a say in the matter, but he has to perform the task and he has to invest the resources in performing the task. You're not coming from the person who contributes the most, has the most decision-making power, which is the same as shares in a company. The person with the primary shares in the company has primary control over the decision-making power of the company. Even when we consider that relationships are a business transaction, relationships have become transactional. Social interaction has become transactional, which also means that the relationship is a merger where his company and her company merge together, and whoever has the majority shares should be the one dictating terms. So if it's 2-1, the man has to put in more. Women aren't going to agree with this, but that means that he should have primary share. Now, flip that on the opposite side, because I'm a man of uniformity. If the merger occurs and the woman's got 2 times more than the man, then she has every right to dictate terms. But think about this, though. Women are not okay with femininity. Women are not okay with subordinate behavior. That's why women are dominating men to feel equal to the man. If she's in charge of the relationship, she feels validated with her ability to be a authority figure in her relationship. But the fact is that if you take the financial responsibility from the man and then administer instruction, he'll follow those instructions with no problem. The man's not going to argue with the fact that you're paying the cost to be the boss. But these dynamics one is dominating the other and the other one's trying to dominate back. That's not good. That's not good in a relationship. You need a partnership where you're cooperating with each other. So when we ask what's really going on here, are the societal norms and gender roles playing a part in this perception that men are afraid of independent women? Men are not afraid of independent women. I mean, we are stuck in a semi-traditional gender role society where men are expected to be providers and women are expected to be nurturers and carers from the male's perspective, but men are expected to be providers and women are expected to not have the responsibility to be nurturers and carers because women are also providers. But if everybody's providing and nobody's nurturing or caring, then it's every person for themselves. And I think it's time to examine both sides of the argument and explore what's really going on here. And I can tell you, historically, when growing up, saw mom working hard to provide for her family. And she was a strong, self-sufficient woman who didn't need anyone to take care of her, but she still had the ability to be vulnerable and was still able to need that love and affection from dad and still being able to have that type of relationship where they cooperate with one another. And seeing their relationship made me realize that independence is apart from vulnerability, and self-sufficiency allows for a more mutually exclusive um, cohabitation. In fact, they can coexist beautifully, self-sufficiency and vulnerability. Independence, dominating independence, on the other hand, is not as freely versatile. So I've seen friends who are independent and dating a woman where they're not intimidating at all. And these women are confident, they're funny, very kind, and they're not trying to one up anyone or prove a point. They're just living their lives, and they have this ability to be just awesome. We also have those women that have to be submitted to, not just respected. And those are the type of ones that snatching the man by his neck and making demands and, being overly aggressive with you can't alpha male your way into a feminine position. Okay. Even if the man is not an alpha man, you cannot alpha man your way as a woman into a feminine position. If the women are going to be overly masculine, then that means that the women need to take the authority and then allow the men to be feminine, take the submissive role, and not have the masculine or alpha responsibilities, where the dynamic is 100% unilateral. To have these situations where you want the authority, but you don't want the responsibility. You want decision-making power, but you don't want to have the financial contribution expectations. You want the best of both sides of the fence, but you don't want to contribute the effort or receive the qualifications to have both sides of the fence met. That is an inconsistency, because the person that's doing more contributing is getting less back, and then at the same time there isn't a balance there. So what else do we have here? We have a question: why do some men still find independent women intimidating? Well, there are men that believe that a successful woman can be intimidating. I'm not going to get you wrong. I'm not going to steer you down the path that no man believes that a successful woman is intimidating. There are men that are intimidated by a successful woman, but there are more men that want a woman that's going to work with them. So consider this. Independent women often exhibit strong assertiveness, which is not conducive of a mutually respectful relationship. And this can be misconstrued as bossiness or a lack of willingness to compromise. And that over assertiveness, the same way women say that it's not the message, it's the delivery, that over assertiveness can a lot of times be damaging to the success of a partnership, because misunderstandings can create tension, as men will feel their opinions are undervalued or ignored, leading the men to feel levels of disconnection in the relationship. Because if the man doesn't have a say, but the man has to put his money up in a situation, and then the man and the woman are going to argue about what's going on, that's going to lead to a dynamic shift where the man is going to pull away from the relationship because he's got to pay for something that he doesn't agree with, or she's going to make him miserable until he does. The fact is that if a woman doesn't do what a man says, that's it. It just doesn't get done. A man is not going to fuss and cuss and yell and throw stuff and make the man feel bad about himself until he does what she says. It's not going to happen. But when you're looking at from the other side, though, if a woman isn't happy, nobody's happy. If a man is not happy, a man secludes himself and then starts trailing off into levels of affairs. Neither scenario is good, but a man is not going to make a woman regret the fact that she didn't agree with it. That level of passive aggressiveness doesn't happen, at least not from narcissistic individuals. So we still have to look at the other areas of this. The challenge of maintaining personal autonomy while nurturing a relationship can lead to emotional distances. And an independent woman prioritizes her personal goals exclusively, excessively. And, this may come across as aloofness, making partners feel sidelined and unimportant. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's truthful. If you're a career driven person, you're trying to be a partner in a firm, you're trying to be that, CEO or whatever, and you're putting all of your attention on your career, you're not putting any attention into your relationship. And that means that you're not going to be successful with your relationship. And truth be told, um, even though men are decided to be breadwinners, you're going to still see the same thing where a man is too goal driven, where he doesn't have a good work-life balance. It's going to spend more time in his job than he's going to spend at his house with his wife, and that's going to damage his relationship. Even still, think about the women who cheat on their husbands because the man doesn't spend enough time at home with his wife. Now think about the women that want to be career-driven women that don't have time for their husbands because the women are at work. Then think about the women that are willing to do what they're told by their boss by the hour, which is ironically a man, but they're arguing with their boyfriend and their husband at home and making demands with their boyfriend and their husband at home, as opposed to cooperating with their boyfriend and their husband. The dynamic shift is that you're not going to see the cooperation from either side, because since she takes instructions all day at work, she wants to give instructions at the house. But she's not cooperating, she's not negotiating. And that can be deemed as unrational. Some men express frustration when independent women approach relationships with a mindset that emphasizes their own agendas over collaborative decision making. This perception can stem from a belief that independent equates to a lack of partnership, which complicates relationship dynamics. And that's very true. The fact is that self-sufficiency is going to be in charge until a unified elected leader is selected. So just like we elected our president not too long ago, in a relationship is like a team, and we select a team captain. Once we select a team captain, we don't always have to agree, we have to cooperate. We can negotiate with our team captain. We can try to reason with our team captain. But once we select a team captain, that's the captain. We don't defy the captain's instructions after we've selected a captain. But the captain has the full responsibility to make sure that the situation doesn't fail. The captain has to put in more than the rest of the team to make sure that the team, the weakest links of the team, are overshadowed by the strengths of the captain. The captain has to also find other individuals that will support the captain's weaknesses so that the weakest links are reinforced with strengthened links. Not just I want what I want when I want it. We have to think about that. As women become less self-sufficient and more independent, traditional gender roles are challenged. Some men often feel threatened by this shift, leading to discomfort in relationships where they perceive their role as providers being diminished. And this apprehension can result in a reluctance to engage deeply with independent women. And that is true. I mean, a woman that can take care of herself can take care of herself all day long. But if she's going to rub it in his face that she doesn't need him, I mean, you're really showing him that you don't really want him in a relationship. Because let's be honest, a man doesn't need a woman's income. Men that are able to take care of themselves, that are financially stable enough to get into a relationship, are taking care of the woman by choice, not by force. Meaning the woman isn't forcing him to take care of her. He's choosing to take care of her. Now, take into the consideration, when a woman gets involved with a man, she doesn't need him to take care of her. She was taking care of herself her whole adult life before she got into this relationship. She chooses to allow him to take care of her, which allows her to redirect her attentions towards other things. So the codependency there is not that you need him to take care, because men don't want a woman that just needs him to provide for her so that she doesn't die. That's not okay. Self-sufficiency is highly attractive, but the fact is that independentness, where the woman has to be in charge over the man's resources, is the problem. That is the primary problem. Beyond that, the uh, codependency between the two partners is mutually reciprocated, and the self-sufficiency where she can take care of it until he gets there is what makes the relationship successful. We also have some issues such as influential figures and media often promoting traditional views in a not so positive light on masculinity and femininity, which can exacerbate fears surrounding independence in women. And, that whole like feminist movement, go girl, is really going to have a very catastrophic behavior fluctuation in the parties involved, which then will lead to the men internalizing these messages and struggling with accepting the overbearingness as the perception of strong, and the sacrificing of relationships from their partner as a presence of independence, and view these as threats rather than equals. And they're not, ironically, going to be equals, because you're equal. You got to think about this. If you're equal, it's 1-to-1. If you're a democracy and it's 1-to-1, if you don't agree, what do? The only way that there's going to be a final decision if you don't agree is if there's a two, if there's a, yeah, there's got to be a 2-to-1 somewhere, which means that somebody's going to have more authority. Women are going to want to be the one that has that more authority. But executing the task is not the responsibility of the woman. It's a lot of times not even the expectation that the woman actually has that responsibility to fix the problems when the problems arise, which leads to the defining factor that the captain of the ship has to go down with the ship after saving the crew. So the reason why women and children is first is so that the men can figure out how to fix the problem. But the men are going down with the ship. So independent women often require time for themselves to recharge. So do narcissistic individuals. Can't hang in there for an extensive period of time. And while they're pursuing personal interests and isolating themselves to recharge, the fact is that they're putting up an emotional and distant wall, typically in times when men are trying to express affection, which is a very inconvenient moment to decide that you're clocking out of the relationship because you need time to recharge. However, this needs to be recognized as a form of misinterpreted behavior by their partners as a lack of interest or commitment, leading to misunderstandings and emotional disconnection. But that's because you choose to clock out the moment that your partner shows up to express their affections. You should be able to accept and receive their affections first, and then clock out after that. Timing is everything. As a leader, you could be injured, and you are still supposed to drive the success of your team until your team is no longer needing your ability to help them succeed. Your team needs to be able to tap you on the shoulder and say, Captain, that's enough. You can go ahead and take a break. We'll take it from here. But not before you've pushed yourself past your limits does the captain have the ability to say, I can't go any further. Because in order for the captain to strive for success and the captain expects more from the team, the captain has to give more to the team in order for the team to be able to respect the expectations of the captain and provide more for the team. So in order for a woman to have an overly successful man, she has to be overly successful herself by the dynamic that she's going to lead the pack. So we also have to understand that clear communication about non-negotiable expectations for behavior is vital for maintaining individuality within a relationship. Without this clarity, partners may feel neglected or overwhelmed. Some may feel neglected and abandoned because they're not getting the attention that they deserve. Others may feel overwhelmed because they have more responsibilities and obligations than they can handle, and there isn't a balance between attention and responsibility, between hanging out and enjoying each other's time and getting stuff done. All of this further straining the relationship dynamic. One of my friends told me that he was in a relationship where his partner would consistently try to one up him. She tried to show him that she was stronger, smarter, more successful. He was already secure with the ability to do his own thing. And he didn't need someone to be better than him. He wanted someone who would work with him. He was happy to be on his own in peace than with a person that gives a lot of pushback and unnecessary conflict with simple decision making. And that scared her. She didn't know how to handle that. Many men appreciate self sufficient women for their strength and confidence, and a man would prefer a woman who can stand on her own 2 feet, which is often seen more interesting and engaging as she's not helpless and she brings her own experiences and perspectives to the relationship. This level of self sufficiency can create a more fulfilling partnership where both individuals can thrive individually together. Successful relationships often depend on how both parties communicate their needs and expectations and then adhering to their partner's needs and expectations, which means that submitting to your partner's needs and expectations, well, submitting to your partner's expectations and meeting your partner's needs would work more effectively if that was coming from both sides of the fence. So it's not just her submitting to him and his expectations; it's him being able to meet and adhere to her expectations while she's submitting to his expectations. So self-sufficient women can maintain their strength while also allowing space for vulnerability and appreciation of their partner's contributions. Acknowledging each other's strengths can foster mutual respect and attraction. So you would have to not only uh, put it down that this is what you need done, you also have to be able to high five your partner and say, "Good job for getting it done." So I think the key is while self-sufficient women aren't independent or aren't intimidating because they're equally as strong and confident as independent women. I think that the over assertiveness from independent women overshadows their insecurities in themselves, and they don't want anyone to complete them, and that can be uncomfortable for some men, which brings me to the point that independence, while it isn't a barrier to relationships at all, it is in fact a major turnoff in some situations where the overbearing and overly assertive behavior in independence is what is off-putting to men. Not to mention the perception that some women portray where she wants what she wants and he will get what she gives her, what she gives him. That's uh a very unhealthy perspective. Now, we have a lot of those that are, and this is going to be coming from more of the middle-aged women where they're going to be more demanding of their expectations, where the man has to be a certain level of success with a certain level of positive credit and a certain level of know-how that is supposed to change or in any way, shape, or form infiltrate a better dynamic. And that's not always the case, you know. we keep saying, who doesn't want to be with someone who is confident and self-assured and comfortable in their own skin? I mean, truth be told, when a man asks you what you want to eat and you say, I don't know, but you know all the things you don't want, but you don't know what you do want, like that level of undecisiveness is not good. If a man asks you what you want, you should be able to say, I want this. That level of confidence is good. But a scenario of, I don't want whatever it is that you're wanting, that level of overly assertiveness, like, I'm not going to the Cheesecake Factory. But what if the guy likes cheesecake? Then what? You won't just go because he likes the place. Like, you feel like Cheesecake Factory is too low class for you to go because he likes the place. I love strawberry cheesecake. Anybody that likes strawberry cheesecake, get in there and let me know. But the attractiveness and sexiness of a woman that is able to be vulnerable and cooperative and submissive and codependent is a level of empowerment that a lot of women have forgotten about. The complexities surrounding independent women versus self-sufficient women and their relationships with men highlight the need for open communication and mutual understanding and mutual respect, which isn't always being delivered. While independence is a strength that many value, self-sufficiency is valued over independence, where an individual can do this on their own. But when a team is present, team efforts, where you are looking out for the best interests of your partner, not just yourself, requires careful navigation to ensure that both partners feel valued and connected, as opposed to one partner feeling successful and the other partner feeling abandoned and betrayed or neglected. Addressing societal expectations and fostering healthy dialogue about needs and non-negotiable expectations can help bring a nice bridge to the gap between the independent woman, self-sufficient women, and their partners, creating more fulfilling relationships. Uh, if you guys have any questions related to this topic, you can throw those questions in the comments down below. If you've got thoughts or experiences on this topic that you guys can give us a couple of backstories on, please leave those in the comment section as well. And if you want to check out more videos on relationships, I've got another one coming up soon, because we actually got one tomorrow, as a matter of fact, and you can grab some of the information out of the description box, which will give you direction towards other shows. And we also have new topics coming up next week. We're still piecing together stuff for next week while we're working on today and this week. So just remember that we are live 7 days a week. You should always like and subscribe if you have the time. Follow us if you're on Twitch. Follow us if you're on Twitter. Always make sure. Special shout out to Omni81 Red Voice. Just seeing you guys popping in again. You will always see us up here trying to make it do what it do. So we really encourage you guys to try to take that look into everything that is this and that, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, because we got a lot of topics that we're mowing over. We're debating on the discussion of what happened in that one school with the shooting thing. And then there's also another scenario that just happened recently. We're debating on whether or not we're going to run that on the show or not. But we talk about this, that, and everything in between. So as we come across interesting concepts, we make room for it on our Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday shows. We are ironing ourselves down to the 10 p.m. Central time slot. So if you're popping into the show towards the middle, we would have started the podcast about an hour ago. So note that we're going to try to stick to that now. I know that daylight savings time is going to do a shift, but we're not going to change time zones for those countries that are not doing daylight savings time. We're just going to go from, I don't remember if we fall forward or spring forward and fall back, or fall. I don't remember the old saying, but when the time shifts an hour, we're just going to shift the time. We're going to air at the same hour. We're just going to shift the time with daylight savings time. So you don't have to worry about that time shift. I think we feel a little bit comfortable, a little bit more comfortable with teeing things off around about this here time here, so that those of you that are getting in from work or haven't gone to work, and those of you that decided not to go to the club versus those of you that came back from the club early, I think it's a good dynamic for us to be able to tap dance around uh, uh, having a good afternoon. For those of you that are in another country and it is midday for you, where it's midnight for us, you guys would be able to enjoy us in your afternoons after you've gotten off from work, after you guys got out of school, and then you're able to shoot the breeze with us and listen to a really good podcast that's also highly interactive. So always make sure that you know that you can throw us special likes, special emojis, special things, and as you guys throw that out to us to give us that support, it gives us the ability to give you guys better quality. It looks like today, while we're streaming off of the hotspot from the cell phone because the tower's back down again, I gotta tell you, it's been a long few months. We did do a good job of maintaining a good setup, but we're looking at trying to get the fiber. But the fiber is going to cost twice as much as the unlimited hotspot that we got, the unlimited internet that we got. So yeah, we contributions to the podcast does help it out. So always remember to take a look at that. We do have tomorrow, Saturday, or today is Saturday, depending on which time zone you're in. We do have a couple more relationship topics coming up before we start getting into more today news and business and finance topics on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So keep your eyes open for that. If you hit the like or subscribe button and you're following the channel, you can go to on a YouTube page. You can go and see some of the shows that's already scheduled for the rest of the week. Some of them that are starting to be scheduled for next week. And as we fill in the gaps in advance, you know somewhat of what topics we're going to be talking about. And there's a description of the type of show that we're going to be talking about in the description box. Also, we got the whole album in the description box, so you can click the link in the description box and it'll take you to other areas of YouTube that'll show you the 5-song track that we have for the podcast, and you should hear some of those tracks being displayed for us in the show. We're waiting on the label to give us the authorization, the whitelist authorization, so that we can throw the full length video or the full length song, the audio, onto the show. So that we can kind of give you guys a sample of what the song sounds like, and you guys can then go grab it and get it for yourselves. So, be that as it may, that's all I'm going to have for you guys for today. Just note that if you missed the show, you can always go back and watch the show from the beginning. And I strongly encourage you to do that because we have a lot of information that we give out. And typically, what I try to do is piece every episode together. So what happens today is going to make more sense down the line when we start talking about other things, when we bring the spider web of knowledge together. Because you can only travel down one path at a time, but once you've traveled down all the paths, you can bring a map together to show exactly what's going on. And as we do that, we're able to decide a platform for us to be successful for ourselves, be successful in our relationships, and prioritize ourselves as well as our partner's goals and ambitions, because it's not about being number one. It's about getting the team to be number one. So when you were dealing with relationships and the modern day expectations of relationships, we have to understand that the goal is for the group to be successful, not just yourself, but you yourself have to be successful to make the group successful. And that's on both sides of the fence. So ladies, it's not about being Miss Independent and being an alpha boss lady. It's about making yourself as successful as your relationship needs so that your relationship thrives. It's not about being as successful as you personally want to achieve, sacrificing the relationship and then saying that the relationship should have been stronger. You have to put effort into it. You can't have a full-time job and be a farmer at the same time, because if no one's there to water the crops aren't going to grow. Same thing with the relationship. Men have an obligation to find a work-life balance where they spend time with their families and their wives, and as well as spend time with their career choice and their job title. Ladies, you guys have the same scenario, but the difference between women and men that isn't readily spoken is that a man is never going to look a woman in the face and say, I don't need you, I can do this all by myself. A man is going to say, why don't you cooperate with me so that we can do this together? If a woman wants to do something, a man is going to say, I got you, go do that. I'll support that. We're not going to have someone devaluing a woman based on her lack of success. If she fails, it's all right. We'll fix it. But if he fails, he can't live it down. This type of behavior needs to change. I can tell you this from a man's perspective, that a man beats himself up when a man doesn't succeed. He doesn't need his woman to remind him that he failed. She's supposed to be the one that's supposed to be nurturing and capable of helping him with his ability to get to success. So ladies, you just got to remember that while we're working towards the betterment of ourselves in our relationship, you just have to remember that we're working towards the betterment in our partner as well. So invest in your husband, invest in your boyfriend, and get him to the level of success that you need so that you can get all of the other stuff that you want. It's not about just dominating and controlling the situation. Everyone's got to get something out of the deal. The women have to get what they're looking for out of the deal the same way the men have to get what they're looking for out of the deal, which means that you have to invest in the relationship to get what you're expecting out. He needs to invest in the relationship to get what he's expecting out. And while this has been a common occurrence, that people have forgotten that both parties in a relationship have to benefit from the existence of the relationship. And if one person is doing more sacrificing and not getting very many benefits, the other person has to find a way to reciprocate some benefits. It doesn't always have to be financial. You can just take some stress off of the other person's plate. If we're capable of doing that, then we're capable of finding ourselves in more successful and happier and longer lasting relationships. But remember, those 50-year marriages didn't last 50 years because one person did all the work. Those 50-year marriages lasted 50 years because both people did the work. Both people put in effort. They prioritize the relationship over everything else while they strive for success. Whether they strive for financial success, whether they strive to facilitate a foundation of success at the level that they're at, either way, they did aim for success, but they also made sure that they prioritized their families. Sometimes you just got to take a day off. Sometimes you just got to close up shop. Sometimes you got to go on vacation so that you can give your partner the time that he or she deserves. So that is all I've got for you guys for today. Ladies, as I step out, I'm going to ask y'all, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to please make it make sense. So ladies, make it make sense. Fellas, I really appreciate you guys coming to This and That. I'm your host, Sander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'm going to see you guys tomorrow night.